When Mark Schwedes was brutally murdered at his Pine Manor home Tuesday night, who could have imagined students at his very own school were involved?
This is the first day back for students since 5 of their own were arrested over the weekend.
Jesus Cristo disse: Vinde a mim as criancinhas, porque delas é o reino de Deus. Na maioria das línguas e das culturas, infância e inocência são sinônimos. A ideia de crianças assassinas é aterradora. É assustador, porque ataca as próprias raízes da nossa civilização.
Probably the reason someone makes a decision to kill somebody is probably to feel that superiority. You know, you have the power to take their life away completely. It's such an ego rush, some people just can't resist it.
Há quase meio século, em consequência da Segunda Guerra Mundial e do Holocausto, um professor britânico escreveu um romance alarmante sobre por que as crianças matam. O título do livro tornou-se uma frase capciosa para os peritos tentarem explicar a evidência do mal na criança.
When I was asked by a local reporter, Sheriff, what kind of a feel do you have for this particular case? How can something like this happen in our community? And my reaction was that it's almost similar to the Lord of the Flies.
O Senhor das Moscas. Grandes livros.
A gang of British schoolboys is accused of attacking and killing a member of their group. The victim, an 8-year-old boy named Simon, apparently suffered from epilepsy. The attack occurred on a remote, deserted island. We have no other information at this time.
Hoje, um repórter de televisão poderia anunciar assim o evento crítico no romance de William Golding, O Senhor das Moscas. Iria se encaixar perfeitamente às manchetes dos dias de hoje. Mas por que Simon foi morto? Qual é a origem de tanta maldade? Golding questionou isso por causa da guerra. Ele tinha sido oficial da Marinha Britânica e chegou a vivenciar uma parte da morte e da violência. Mas foram as revelações do Holocausto que deixaram a impressão mais profunda nele. Uma impressão que permaneceu com ele em tempos de paz, enquanto ele observava os rostos jovens de seus alunos. O Senhor das Moscas começa com uma outra guerra que indica o uso de armas nucleares. Um grupo de alunos britânicos está sendo transportado para fora da zona de perigo, quando o avião é atingido e cai. E eles ficam encalhados numa ilha deserta e remota. O que vem a seguir é muito mais do que uma aventura de menino, é uma fábula, com personagens que simbolizam ideias vastas e abstratas. Os primeiros personagens que conhecemos são Ralph e Piggy. Nestas cenas do filme de 1963 do romance de Golding.
I expect there's a lot more of us scattered about. You haven't seen any others, have you?
Ralph shook his head. The fat boy stood by him, breathing hard.
My auntie told me not to run on account of my asthma, and I've been wearing specs since I was 3.
Piggy é fraco fisicamente, mas é esperto. Quando ele e Ralph encontram uma concha na praia, é Pig que pensa em usá-la para convocar outros sobreviventes do acidente de avião.
We can use this to call the others. Have a meeting. They'll come when they hear us, said Piggy. How did your friend blow the conch? He kind of spat, said Piggy. My auntie wouldn't let me blow on account of my asthma. You try, Rolf. You call the others.
Ao som da concha do mar, os meninos saem da selva e são conduzidos em direção ao barulho. A uma certa distância, uma imagem escura se forma e começa a se mover em direção aos meninos. A estranha procissão é, na verdade, um coro de meninos de uma escola diferente que também estavam no avião. O líder do grupo é Jack.
Where's the man with the trumpet?
Escondido sob a aparência angelical de Jack em suas vestes do coro, existe alguém que despreza os fracos e adora mandar nos outros.
I ought to be chief. And chief chorister and head boy. Let's have a vote. All right, we'll have a vote. Who wants Jack for chief then?
Ralph vence. Ele acalma Jack, permitindo que ele continue liderando o coro. Jack decide que os meninos agora serão caçadores. É assim que, de repente, o devoto tornou-se profano e a ironia de Golding começa a se mostrar. O que parecia ser um ato político sensato de Ralph prova ser perigoso. Ele se enganou sobre a natureza agressiva de Jack e seu tenente, um menino chamado Roger, que possui um lado obscuro.
I think there's a danger when we read the book of making it too schematic and saying Ralph is this and Jack is this and Piggy is this, and this is all true. But what we must remember is that Golding is talking about character traits, characteristics that we all possess. There's a little bit of Jack in all of us. There's a little bit of Roger, God help us, in all of us. And there's a bit of Piggy.
As crianças de Golding são personagens de um mundo de adultos. Ele via a criança como uma prévia do homem.
This is where he differs so profoundly from other writers and thinkers of the time, because he sees men as simply being children of a greater growth.
O livro inicia com um recado positivo. Os meninos realizaram uma eleição civilizada e o líder eleito, Ralph, institui a ordem.
You shall have to put our hands up like you did at school. Then I'll give him the conch. I agree with Ralph. Got to have rules and obey them. After all, we're not savages. We're English. And the English are best at everything. So I'll have lots of rules.
Os meninos estão fazendo o que qualquer pai gostaria que seus filhos fizessem, seguir o exemplo do seu próprio mundo racional idealizado. Mas quem conhece crianças sabe que tal comportamento acaba não durando. E Golding era tanto professor quanto pai.
He knew what children were like. When people ask him, how did you get inside the minds of these little monsters, he always used to say, well, teaching grammar school for 20 years will do it.
Golding gostava de ler para os filhos os livros de aventura da sua infância, que, de certa forma, foi como O Senhor das Moscas acabou sendo escrito.
We know the genesis of this book is that Golding was reading to his two children in his Cornwall cottage one evening during the Christmas holiday from school where he was a teacher, and he came down the stairs and he said to his wife, you know, I think I could write a better book than that. And she said, well, why don't you sit down and write it? So he sat down and wrote it.
O que Golding escreveu foi exatamente uma paródia de um conto de aventura muito popular do século XIX, The Coral Island, escrito por Robert Michael Ballantyne. The Coral Island foi publicado em 1857, no auge do imperialismo britânico.
Britons at the top of the tree, savages and pigs at the bottom, Christianity up at the top, false gods down at the bottom. Wonderful time on the Coral Island, showing how clever you are.
And it describes the adventures of a group of English schoolboys who are shipwrecked on a desert island in the Pacific and who proceed with typical English grit, common sense, courage, bravery and decency to transform the island into a miniature England.
Golding took that and absolutely deconstructed and subverted it. What he was saying in effect was, you put kids on a desert island in savage conditions and they will revert to savagery in no time flat.
O modo como Golding narra este declínio é para ajustar as coisas de uma maneira organizada no início. Ralph parece um líder ideal, forte, confiante, com um ar de autoridade. Exatamente o que essas crianças sem pais precisam. Pig, inteligente e prudente, torna-se consequentemente o conselheiro de Ralph e cada vez mais seu amigo. A prioridade de Ralph era ser resgatado, e ele orienta os meninos para acenderem uma fogueira e usarem como sinal para que o navio ou avião que passassem pudessem ver a fumaça. Sem fósforos, eles usam os óculos de Pig para acender o fogo. O símbolo de Golding da ciência a serviço da humanidade. Ralph também pede aos meninos que construam abrigos. Mas todo esse trabalho atrapalha a diversão. Para Jack e seu grupo, isso significa a caça. O estágio, agora, caminha para o conflito.
From the beginning, the boys are delighted to have been left on that island. This is wonderful. This is a holiday. We'll have a great time, and in 3 or 4 weeks, we'll be rescued and go back home. In the meantime, we have no teachers, we have no parents, we have nobody to tell us what to do. Wonderful, great. But when darkness comes, kids especially, and little kids more particularly, sometimes get scared.
À noite, algumas plantas balançam com o vento e o menino tem um pesadelo. O medo do escuro e das coisas ocultas começa a crescer.
He wants to know, what are you going to do about the snake thing? Ralph laughed and the other boys laughed with him. The small boy twisted further into himself. Tell us about the snake thing. Now he says it was a beastie.
Well, the snake, of course, goes back to Genesis. The snake is the evil creature. It's associated in Western culture with the fall, and the island is about a fall. Evil is identified with something out there. And if only we could destroy that evil thing, then we would be at peace.
Na ilha, a ideia de existir alguma coisa, uma fera, um fantasma, um monstro, aumenta. Pig rejeita a ideia da existência de tal criatura porque não é racional. Mas ninguém lhe dá ouvidos. Ralph pede ordem. E Jack promete caçar a fera, aproveitando o fato dos meninos estarem com medo. Todos, exceto um. Simon.
Simon is epileptic. In pre-scientific, pre-rational traditions, this was regarded as a kind of holy disease, as being touched by God in some way, and that those who were epileptic had some kind of access to truths, to insights denied to the rest of us.
Uma história nascida das lembranças da guerra deve agora sofrer uma drástica mudança quando a caçada se inicia. A primeira caçada é um fracasso. Jack quer matar, mas não consegue. Resta um resquício de escrúpulo de civilização e ele dá desculpas para o seu fracasso, culpando o fato do animal poder vê-lo. Ele tem a ideia de usar barro para se camuflar, escondendo o caçador da sua presa. Isso se torna um uniforme para todos os caçadores.
And it means, like, from what set you're from. Red is the Bloods, and blue is the Crips.
Who's to say and why a kid will become a gang member? My opinion is experience, some facts that I remember. I joined, they joined.
Os meninos que vivem nas ruas de Los Angeles sobrevivem num mundo bem parecido com o dos meninos na ilha. Isolados da corrente principal da sociedade e sem a supervisão do adulto, eles criam sua própria civilização. Gangues. E fazem suas próprias regras. Eles assistiram ao filme O Senhor das Moscas e depois relacionaram os personagens e as situações da história com suas próprias vidas.
When the boys painting themselves, it's just like us wearing our clothes. They wear red, we wear blue. We wear our blue bandanas, they wear their red bandanas. Our blue flannels, their red flannels. Our blue shoelaces, their red shoelaces.
Gangs give themselves a protective shield by taking symbols like tattoos and taking symbols like colors and wearing them to represent a group, represent their group, to represent themselves as an extension of that group, so that individual responsibility isn't measured as I did this for myself, but rather I did this for the betterment of the group. It's a justification for having to do very extreme things in an extreme environment.
A ilha de Golden é um ambiente rigoroso e Jack está determinado a matar o próximo porco que encontrar. Camuflado de modo adequado, Jack e seus caçadores não vão falhar de novo.
It's just like if the pig was your enemy and they were walking through your neighborhood. And if you had a gun or a knife and there were so many friends in your group, that's what we'd do, is just chase them. If you catch them, just do whatever you can to them. I'm from a gang, Long Beach Crips. I got jumped in when I was 10, got jumped out when I was 15.
Running from the cops, it's an everyday thing. I take care of them, they take care of me. Like that, that's the way it is.
And so, hunting in groups is one of the chief characteristics of young men.
Obcecados pela caça, Jack e seus caçadores negligenciam a fogueira sinalizadora.
Come back! Come back!
Ralph avista um avião passando ali perto.
Look, we killed a pig. We're still up on it. We got in a circle.
You let the fire out.
We can light it up again. You should have been with us, Ralph. There was lots of blood. You should have seen it.
There was a plane. There was a plane! They might have seen us. We might have gone home.
Dois mundos diferentes colidem aqui. Ralph é guiado pelo dever e pela responsabilidade, enquanto Jack está consumido pela ânsia do sangue e a fome de caçar. A pequena sociedade democrática que os meninos criaram começa a se dividir em duas partes. Para esta combinação explosiva, Golden acrescenta o estopim. Ele introduz o medo. E novamente o fogo se apaga. Dois meninos que tomavam conta pegam no sono. Eles acordam com um barulho de asas e com uma forma escura que vai crescendo. A fera. Existe mesmo uma fera. Eles correm de medo para avisar os outros.
There were eyes, teeth, claws. We ran as fast as we could, bashed into things. The beast followed us. I saw it slinking behind the trees. Nearly touched me.
Jack sugere que eles caçem a fera. E Ralph e os meninos maiores juntam-se a ele. O medo atormenta cada um de seus passos enquanto vasculham a ilha. Eles veem algo escuro e assustador. Num momento de pânico repentino, Ralph sai correndo e os outros meninos o seguem. O medo agora governa a ilha.
Fear is real, and it does manifest itself inside of people and produces behavior that you normally might not do.
O ator e diretor Edward James Olmos conhece bem a vida nas ruas. Ele usou membros de gangues das ruas de Los Angeles em seu filme em 1992, American Me. Essa experiência o inspirou a fazer um documentário intitulado Lives in Hazard, que mostra uma visão inflexível da realidade da vida nas gangues. Mas ele também se baseou em sua própria experiência, tendo visto em primeira mão a mistura volátil de medo e violência nas ruas de Los Angeles.
I lived in Boyle Heights, and you were either part of a gang of kids or the local street gang, or you weren't. And if you weren't, then you had to understand what that meant.
Concrete jungles where these boys live. Everything around is negative. All around and everywhere. Mama preach for them, but they don't care. Welcome to the jungle.
We talk about ghetto jungles, urban jungles, which of course produces the paradox that civilization, when it takes a wrong step, has produced a situation in which we get a reversion to nature gone bad within the civilization itself.
All around and everywhere. Mama prays for them, but they don't care.
The gang in the United States today is especially important, I believe, because the family is especially weak. The family and the gang are natural rivals. Every boy will want to be part of a group, but the group becomes a gang when the family is weak and cannot assert its authority over the boy. And families today are weaker than they've ever been.
Everything around is negative. All around and everywhere. Mama prays for them, but they don't care. But they don't care. But they don't care.
These are parentless kids. Kids, in order to reach adulthood successfully, it seems to me, they need to be surrounded by love. They need to be surrounded by an adult who shows up, knows their name, pays attention, and gives appropriate care.
Poucas pessoas sabem mais sobre o porquê dos meninos se juntarem a gangues do que o padre Greg Boyle, pastor da Igreja da Missão Dolores. Boyle cuida da Homeboy Industries. A firma ajuda a gerar empregos para os membros de gangues e outras crianças que foram isoladas da sociedade e que lutam para sobreviver nas ruas ao redor de sua igreja.
Violence has become part of the air they breathe here.
Living out here, everybody's seen somebody get killed or get shot. An everyday thing here, you just get used to it.
In a way, it gives me like a little rush, but not like a rush to do it myself, but just the rush that I saw it and it was there.
Once one tastes the power of the kill, one feels a sense of strength, and one starts to feed off that sense of strength in order to survive and to move forward. So you grow, you gain a sense of strength. It's an empowerment. Negative, but it empowers you. And then some people take that and continue to search for that.
And you shut up. Who are you anyway, just sitting there telling people what to do? You can't hunt, you can't sing.
I'm chief. I was chosen.
Why should choosing make any difference? Telling people what to do?
Piggy's got the conch.
That's right. Favor Piggy as you always do.
Jack!
Jack!
The rules, you're breaking the rules.
Who cares?
Because the rules are the only thing we got.
Follow
bollocks to the rules. We're strong. We hunt. As a beast, we'll hunt it down and beat and beat.
Ralph lost control because he looked weak, so everybody said, nah, he ain't no good.
Somebody that's sensitive, they ain't gonna go with him. They'd rather go with somebody that will kill somebody or jump somebody than somebody that wants.
Whenever I think of Jack, I think of Hitler in the late 20s and early 30s, guaranteeing the German people full employment, feeding you, solving all the economic problems, and the only trifling cost of this is to abandon your freedom.
Using fear is precisely the way dictators acquire power. Hitler acquired power out of fear. Mao Zedong acquired power out of fear.
William Golding nasceu em 1911, filho de um cientista e de uma mãe bastante religiosa. Como seu pai, ele era um socialista britânico que acreditava na perfectibilidade do homem, uma crença que não sobreviveria à Segunda Guerra Mundial. Depois de se formar em Oxford em 1935, ele tentou vários empregos, incluindo o de professor. E quando a Grã-Bretanha declarou guerra contra a Alemanha, Golding se alistou na Marinha Real. Ele foi testemunha do afundamento do encouraçado alemão Bismarck e também participou do Dia D. Depois de sua dispensa, ele voltou a lecionar na escola do bispo Wordsworth para meninos em Salisbury. Um cargo que lhe deu amplo material para seu primeiro livro, O Senhor das Moscas.
He was a great doer as well as a great teller of stories, and he could move from one of those, from the world of action to the world of imagination.
Golding escreveu O Senhor das Moscas em apenas 6 semanas, mas o tempo foi bem mais longo antes da sua publicação. O manuscrito foi rejeitado 22 vezes antes de ser aceito para publicação. Muitos editores acreditavam que era pessimista e triste demais.
What would happen would be this big parcel would arrive. And of course, children are always very excited by parcels, so I would be very interested in this parcel. And then this increasingly dog-eared manuscript would emerge, and there would be a period, a very brief period of sort of mourning on the part of my parents, and then it would be bundled up and it would be sent off again. One thing worth mentioning, we were very poor at this time, resources were very, very stretched, and I think it shows he was really convinced that this was a great book, that he just spent the postage on it time after time.
O Senhor das Moscas finalmente foi publicado em 1954. Mas foi só depois do início dos anos 60 que o livro se tornou um assunto padrão de estudos nas universidades e as vendas cresceram. O livro de Golding tinha se tornado um clássico. Hoje, a obra de Golding é exigida como leitura em muitas cadeiras de literatura no 2º grau. A fé permanente de Golding em seu livro foi recompensada em 1983, quando ele ganhou o Prêmio Nobel por sua consistência no trabalho que falava de modo profundo e passional à tragédia da condição humana. William Golding disse:
If you want to know where the tragedy, the sense of tragedy in that book came from, I can only say that it came from the most desperate time of my life, which was after the war, when we found out what the Nazis had been doing, and as things unfolded, one terrible story after another, then my liberal world collapsed. So that's Lord of the Flies.
He realized that he could become somebody who tried very carefully to kill people. And he describes several times, I think, the degree of sophistication that human beings could bring to the task of killing people. And I think he found that sophistication could, could be acquired by him. And he was very upset by that.
You think you've won a war. What you've done is finished a war. You got away with it this time. There was a crime committed in that war, the like of which perhaps was never committed in human history, and you've got to do something about it.
And here was Golding, who had taken the whole thing, scaled it down, and let you look at it as an experiment, a limited experiment with small people on a small island. And yet, all the darkness of the human heart was there. Everything that had begun to impact people, the awful weight of the hydrogen bomb, of everything that had happened in World War II, of the destruction of ideals of the left as well as of the right. What he'd done was to reduce it to manageable proportions, to let people feel it in a way that was not huge, that this was themselves, this was how it had happened, and perhaps they could somehow come to terms with it.
Golding isola os meninos na ilha para provar como o controle da civilização imposta pode rapidamente ruir. Jack e seus caçadores acham outro porco, uma porca, e eles a matam numa cena que mostra a depravação genuína. Roger, que até então se contentava em se esconder por trás dos outros, assume um novo papel.
Here, struck down by the heat, the sow fell and the hunters hurled themselves at her. The air was full of sweat and noise and blood and terror. Roger found a lodgment for his point and began to push till he was leaning with his whole weight. Then Jack found the throat, and the hot blood spouted over his hands. The sow collapsed under them, and they were heavy and fulfilled upon her.
Uma tempestade está se formando. Jack e seus caçadores decidem fazer uma festa e dividir a carne da matança. Todos recebem sua parte de carne. E eles começam a cantar e dançar em volta da fogueira. Ralph e Piggy juntam-se aos outros em um frenesi insensato. A imersão do ego e a paixão do grupo são meios antigos de desatrelar a capacidade humana para o mal. E ainda funciona assim.
The band fell silent at Riverdale High School in Buckingham today for all the wrong reasons.
The band director is dead, murdered, gunned down on his front porch.
A cidade é Fort Myers, Flórida. Um lugar tranquilo, com valores familiares tradicionais, valores epitomados por uma classe de estudos bíblicos oferecida como matéria facultativa no segundo grau. Mas na primavera de 1996, a comunidade foi assolada por uma campanha de violência, incêndio criminoso, roubo, matança de animais, furto de grandes quantias, assalto e, no dia 30 de abril de 1996, assassinato. O professor da banda do colegial, Mark Schwibs, foi brutalmente baleado na porta de sua casa. Essa violência chocou ainda mais quando as pessoas souberam que os assassinos e agressores dessa atrocidade foram 6 adolescentes da região, todos brancos e de classe média. Eles se intitulavam Senhores do Caos e travaram uma campanha de destruição total contra a comunidade. O líder do grupo era um garoto chamado Kevin Foster, que dentro do grupo tinha o apelido de Deus.
If you look at the Lords of Chaos, you see a group of young people who are not on an isolated island, they're in a community. But they've isolated themselves. They've created their own island. They've broken away from the mainstream of reason and rationality. They've broken away from the rule of law.
We made our own little world, and we ran it how we wanted to. To hell with everybody else.
In the beginning, it started off nothing serious, just small petty vandalism, petty theft.
And then from there it just escalated into something we couldn't handle.
At the point of the murder, I don't think I was thinking. During any of these crimes, I don't think I was thinking at all. I just, I had turned off and I was just running on instinct. And just the way I see it is like there was one brain, you know, amongst the whole group, and Kevin Foster just happened to have it at the time.
From my perspective, that they were caught up in a bloodlust. They were caught in a vortex. And in this vortex that was sucking them into this black hole of evil. I mean, it was a personification of evil that took place.
Civilization is a pretty thin veneer. You can get behind it very easily. It peels off very fast. You can revert to the jungle, to primitivism, to animalism, to just about anything without any trouble at all.
Enquanto o medo pela fera aumenta, Simon sobe a montanha. O que ele encontra é um visitante patético do mundo da guerra. O cadáver pútrido de um piloto aviador, preso pelas cordas do paraquedas. Simon desce a montanha para contar aos outros meninos. No caminho de volta, ele se depara com algo que desencadeia uma convulsão epilética. Jack tinha colocado a cabeça da porca na ponta de uma lança como uma oferenda para a fera. No meio de seu ataque, Simon tem uma visão. Este é o Senhor das Moscas. E escuta o que ele fala.
There isn't anyone to help you. Only me, and I'm the beast. Fancy thinking the beast was something you could hunt and kill. You knew, didn't you? I'm part of you. Close. Close. Close.
Simon then sees that there is nothing to fear out there, rushes back down the hill to tell the boys that they are indeed saved, that they are redeemed, and meets the fate of all redeemers, is crucified, is torn to pieces by this mob.
The great wave of the tide moved farther along the island, and the water lifted. Softly, surrounded by a fringe of inquisitive bright creatures, itself a silver shape beneath the steadfast constellations, Simon's dead body moved out toward the open sea.
O sol nasce sobre um terrível acontecimento.
Piggy, that was murder. You stop it! What good are you doing talking like that? It was dark. There was that bloody dance. There was lightning and thunder and rain. We were scared. Anything might have happened. It wasn't what you said.
Piggy is poverty-stricken in his attempt to excuse himself. We all bear our share of responsibility, and the whole point of Lord of Wise is to drive that lesson home, that even good boys are capable of doing wicked things.
Não acabou. Jack está com a maioria dos meninos no seu acampamento, mas a fogueira deles apaga de novo. Eles investem contra Pig e Ralph e roubam tanto o fogo quanto os óculos de Pig para acender a chama. A jornada se encaminha para um confronto final entre Jack e sua tribo e Ralph e Pig. E o que restou da democracia que Ralph havia governado?
Which is it better to be? A pack of painted savages like you are?
Roger, bem acima deles, dá a resposta.
It's the master who gets the right boy by the scruff of the neck and hauls him back. He is God who stops a murder being committed.
Now, when we translate that equation to the world of Lord of the Flies, it's a classroom without a master, and the boys can run amok. And as Roger comes to realize, if there is no God, then everything is permitted. And this, for Roger, comes as the most wonderful of liberations. He can do what he likes, and what he likes to do is to hurt people.
Well, there's always going to be sadists somewhere. It's a not universal, but it's a natural condition. Bullies like bullying. They think about it all the time and practice it in the breaks. They're born that way. They like being that way. They revel in it. And if you're going to have a purposeful universe, you have to take them into account.
This, of course, is Golding's point. To make sure that if the psychopaths are there, they remain as lonely individual deviants, but they don't become presidents or prime ministers or leaders of nations. Because when that happens, when Roger becomes the Führer or the leader of Soviet Russia, then it really does become hell upon earth.
A morte de Pig é a morte da cultura, do aprendizado, da razão, da civilização em si. Uma história de horror, uma fantasia cruel, mas que foi promulgada 20 anos depois no Camboja.
Look, the killing fields of Cambodia were nothing new. Children killing children is nothing new. All that you have to have is the right circumstances. They'll do it. And really, in one sense, that's exactly what Lord of the Flies was saying. Get the circumstances right, and people are capable of anything. And it's a hard lesson to learn.
Golding is not saying, seek your salvation in the city. The kids are on the island in the first place because their apparently, allegedly civilized fathers have launched this dreadful atomic war. But neither is he saying, seek your salvation in nature. Because the kids go back to this paradisial nature and they turn it into a miniature reflection of that awful life that their fathers are living back there. The evil can take place anywhere because the evil is intrinsic to the human being as a human being.
Golding explicou desse jeito. Nascemos com a maldade em nós, e a crueldade é uma parte disso. Essa crueldade pode ser desencadeada até em crianças. E explica o porquê de tantas crianças tornarem-se violentas ou assassinas. Monstros. Golding dizia que se não houvesse alguém para orientar as crianças, elas se desvirtuariam. Ele acreditava que a crueldade que existe latente em todos nós se desenvolve quando duas condições estão presentes, o medo e o caos. O caos agora reina na ilha. Ralph é o inimigo e teme por sua vida. Ele é caçado, perseguido, como um dos porcos. Os caçadores usam os óculos de Pig para fazer mais uma fogueira e queimar sua presa. Mas logo o fogo fica fora de controle. A ciência, agora, está a serviço dos maníacos. No último minuto, há apenas alguns segundos de ser empalado numa lança, Ralph tropeça na praia e cai. aos pés de um homem de uniforme.
This little circle of boys who had been demons, they suddenly shrivel and become a lot of little snot-nosed, dirty kids who need a good bath. Golding is showing that what has gone on in this island has been the direct result of a loss of adult authority. Now, if we translate that to our world, what is going on in our world? Who is going to save us? The boys can be saved by one adult stepping ashore. But where is the God who is going to step on the shore of our world and put an end to all the nasty nonsense which is in danger of leaving us all incinerated or dead?
Deus está ausente da ilha de Golden. E o bom sofreu nas mãos do mal. Já resgatado, Ralph finalmente sucumbe e chora.
Ralph wept for the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart, and the fall through the air of the true, wise friend called Piggy.